I'm Jake at America's Most Wanted 4x4, and I'm going to show you today how to do the steering column correction kit on a JL Wrangler. So this is what it will look like when you get the column relocation kit. This black powder coated piece right here is the column relocation bracket itself. We will give you an extra steering shaft bolt. 2 nut zerts. You will only need to use 1. There's an extra one in case it doesn't crush right, or something doesn't work out. You'll have 1 extra. The bolt that is the nut zerts that are screwed onto, there's a washer, and that bolt will be used in the process of securing this bracket in the factory holes that are already there. You'll use 1 of them, not both, but you must keep these 10mm factory bolts that come off the bracket itself. It's very simple to do. Where you're going to start is at this 10mm bolt right up here and this 10mm back here. You're going to remove that bearing collar. You're going to take our column correction. You're going to set it up there. We're going to mark on the firewall here where we are going to have to cut the excess metal out to fit that factory bracket and bearing back in there. You don't have to go all the way to the edge of this thin line. You can go about halfway and go with that first. If you cut all the way to the edge, it's not a big deal, but it depends on what booster you have and how far over you're going to go with it. Also, while you have this up in place and you're marking where you're going to cut, just line up your hole furthest to the outside or the center of the vehicle on the top, and your hole that is in the bottom furthest or closest to the brake booster. Just line those up and go ahead and mark your other top hole center, and that's where you're going to drill your new hole to install your riv nut. So we can go ahead and pull this back down and start cutting. So there is a little piece of plastic back here. You don't really have to worry about it too much because you're going to be just cutting this out. It may nick it just a little bit, but it's nothing to worry about. If it's if you don't want to cut that, you can obviously go inside the vehicle and push it out of the way, but it's nothing to be concerned or alarmed about.
Is that metal or plastic?
The outer edge is metal. There's a little isolator plastic foam in between the 2 pieces, the inner and outer. It's nothing really that you have to worry about. You can push it out of the way if you reach up and keep pushing it, but it gets covered up, so it doesn't affect anything. It's not gonna make it not steer right. Once you have the side that you need to cut, just roughly cut out, you can hold your bracket back up into place. Make sure that it lines up. We could possibly take a little bit more out, but that looks just enough, just plenty. So we'll go ahead and pull this back down, and we will grab our bearing collar. Hold this back up, push this onto the actual column itself. Okay. Pull that back off, pull this off, and we can go ahead and center punch our hole so we can drill a pilot hole for our riv nut. It doesn't have to be very hard. You don't want to dent the firewall or make it loose or, you know, disform it in any way by hitting it too hard. We're going to start with a 1/8 inch drill bit to drill a pilot hole. And we're going to switch to a 11/32 to drill the hole for the riv nut. So now that you have your riv nut installed into the firewall, you can go ahead and put your column relocation ring back up into place. Then you can reinstall the factory bearing and bearing collar for the steering column. You can go ahead and start tightening down your 2 factory 10mm bolts at the top here. Just kind of snug them up at first. Don't tighten them all the way down. Go ahead and tighten down your lower bolt that we give you in your kit. Now you can go ahead and make sure all 3 are both securely down. Both plates are secured to the firewall, and there's no play in the column or the bearing. Okay. Go ahead and just make sure that there's no dirt, you know, shavings from when you drilled the hole or anything like that left on the shaft when you go to put the other part of the steering shaft on, going to the gearbox. Just kind of wipe off where you're working, and that is it. Steering column relocation bracket installed.